Hi everyone, I'm Jana Pawlowski from The Accountable Mindset. And today we are going to be talking about the topic of accountability and how much accountability is actually enough. So accountability is always a very hotly debated topic because it can help achieve a goal quite significantly, but also recurrently I speak to people who have had quite mixed or even bad experiences with accountability. So actually the question, first of all, of what accountability is one of the most searched topics related to accountability inside Google. So when you have a look at it, it's just a recurrent question of what it actually means. And accountability is something that we take responsibility for, something that we are going to, that we focus on, are determined to achieve. But also having accountability and being accountable means that you are prepared to deal with the consequences of what you do, what you achieve, and actually the action that you take. So what's really important is to be very clear about what accountability means for you. And it's mostly in relation to a specific goal or target you want to achieve and the actions, the related actions that you take to do that. So talking about the definition of accountability is taking responsibility, taking control, being proactive, and also dealing with the consequences. The question is always, what does it mean for you? What are you going to do? What are you prepared to take that responsibility for to achieve a goal? And there is recurrently also I've heard the opinion and I've heard it in conversations as well. People say if you want something badly enough, really, really want it, then automatically you're going to be accountable. And that would be absolutely amazing if this was the case. However, while some people might be able to operate that way, for most of us, it's a bit more challenging than that. Because when you think about achieving a goal, it's like a puzzle. It's a combination of different actions, challenges, steps that someone has to take and overcome to achieve that goal, to achieve that particular objective. And some of them are going to be more challenging than others. So, for example, when someone wants to attract clients online, they can do it through a variety of ways. And for some people, public speaking and being on camera in particular can be quite challenging. So that does not mean that they are not determined and focused on achieving that goal of attracting clients online. However, that particular element, being on camera, a particular way of attracting attention and potential clients, could be really challenging for them and potentially even a showstopper. However, why should they not achieve their goal if everything else they do is working? They are completely committed just because that particular element of the journey is more challenging. So this is where they would need more accountability and support. And ideally, accountability is not a beating stick. This is something I've heard recurrently in the past where people said, I'm actually not that keen on accountability. I've had some really bad experiences with it where I've been really put off of doing something and really put down through someone who I was hoping would help. So accountability should be really a support net, a fail-safe, or a set of fail-safes that help to achieve a goal, regardless of whether there will be smaller or bigger challenges on the way to that goal. So do let me know how you feel about accountability. If you've had any particular experiences, good, bad, or ugly, that's always interesting for me to hear and see what your experiences with accountability have been. So good accountability really means that we're getting support. It helps us to achieve a goal, potentially faster and better than we would do otherwise, and also with less friction. So the questions to ask to really understand what accountability is, the right accountability for someone, is to, first of all, be clear about why accountability. So what is the goal? On the way to where do you want that support network, that fail-safe to help you? Secondly, what type of challenges do you expect? So I mentioned, for example, that someone might not be entirely comfortable on camera. This is, however, potentially part of the journey. So this would be specifically something they would be focusing on in terms of accountability, getting that barrier lowered effectively that's in the way of achieving the goal they set for themselves to become more visible online. And finally, what's really important and doesn't always get considered is in relation to accountability is what motivates you. And that's really quite important because fundamentally there are two types of motivation. So one is the away from, where we try to avoid something, might be a fear, a pain, an embarrassing situation. And that away from a move, that's really to avoid failure and any kind of negative experience that we think we might have or we had in the past and we're fearing we might repeat it. So one motivation is negative, away from, avoid something that really causes us distress or a problem. The second type of motivation is the towards motivation. And this is all about reward. So towards means we're motivated by something positive, something towards which we move. And it's really a vision, something that we want to achieve, and the reward that we expect at the end of whatever we do. So first of all, understanding what motivates you normally more, positive or negative, avoiding pain or seeking a reward is a very important step. And what you might or might not know is that actually for most people, the negative away from motivation tends to be stronger. So for us, generally, for humans, it's more important to avoid failure, to avoid pain, to avoid feeling like we're exposed. That tends to be stronger motivation than a reward after doing something. So being, again, clear whether you fall in one or the other category is really helpful in thinking about what kind of accountability is going to help you to achieve your goal and overcome any challenges on the way. The other element and motivation that's worth considering, and this is a model that David McLellan has formed, is that in general, in terms of a more reward structure, there are three things people pursue in terms of what they want to achieve. Great, thanks for the comment. Yes, absolutely. So actually, the being visible on camera, it's a challenge a lot more people have than maybe it's visible, because when you go on Facebook, it seems that everyone is just talking there, doing lives and present and visible. And actually, it's not that straightforward. So I actually was very uncomfortable on camera about a year ago, August last year, 2020. This is when I first started putting my face on camera, and really I didn't like at all doing that. However, it is for me personally a means to an end to be able to support others in a different way that I wouldn't be able to do if I wasn't doing this. So for example, I'm here now, and hopefully it is something that's of value to you, some of the information and findings and motivations that I'm sharing. So it's definitely something that can be quite a challenge and is quite broad. So in terms of McLellan and the three types of more positive motivation that people are pursuing, is that most of us, again, fall into three types of motivational categories in terms of what we look for. So one category is achievement. So the person who's motivated by achievement really wants to achieve a goal and see an outcome, a result from what they are doing. And in the different posts I've been doing and polls I've been doing as well, it seems that in the online world, a lot of people fall into the achievement category. So really getting the reward and getting the motivation from the outcome at the end and the achievement at the end. And they do also like feedback, so they know how to move forward even faster later. In terms of motivation, positive motivation, the second category that McLellan has defined is power. So power, people who pursue power are people who like to win, they like to come out on top, and they are very status focused as well. So for them, a reward at the end of overcoming a challenge, pursuing the goal, is going to be something related to confirming the power, and this was that had been a power move and something that reinforced the status in the community they operate in. And finally, the third most common type of motivation, positive motivation, is the need for affiliation. And people who are seeking affiliation really want to be part of a group, want to be accepted, and want to be part of a community. And also sometimes they might be quite risk averse, making sure that they protect the status quo and the environment they've created for themselves, where they feel comfortable. So understanding, first of all, whether you are more attracted, motivated by positive or negative motivation, and risk or reward is really important. And secondly, when it comes to rewards and needs that we seek to fulfill, also thinking about what outcomes do you seek? Is it achievement? Is it power? Or is it affiliation? Is also going to help you to define which types of accountability might be more suitable for you than others. So yeah, thanks very much for the comment. I can assure you it's not always been like this. I actually look in the camera, so I don't have to look at myself, which has been very helpful, I have to say, to be able to focus actually on the message and not on myself. So that's been quite something that I didn't realize when I started doing this, that this is going to be quite helpful in the whole process as well. Moving on then to what accountability is right for you, right? So I've already mentioned a few points around motivation and the needs, the drivers that we have. Accountability, when done right, ultimately has to help you overcome some of the barriers, fears, or maybe challenges on the way to achieving a goal. And knowing how much and how big these challenges are is going to really define how many or what type of accountability fail-safes, I call them, you're going to need. Also, in terms of the motivators that you are going to use, knowing how well you can leverage them effectively in motivating you is going to also help you to pick out the types of accountabilities and the amount and frequency that are going to work for you and will help you with achieving your goal. So this really has to be the basis for how you decide what type and how much accountability is right for you, which is all what today is about. So I want to give you a couple of examples in terms of how this works practically in terms of accountability for different types of needs and motivations. So I mentioned before that some people are driven by power. So the type of accountability they might choose to specifically use is something where they're going to be as a reward visible, and it's going to reinforce their status. So something they might set for themselves as an accountability would be, for example, a public event at a certain date where they would be speaking in front of other people. So this is something for which they would have to prepare. It would be to promote their service, their product, whatever they bring to the table. And the way how they would choose it would be really to reinforce their power and the status they have. So very public, very visible form of accountability. This is, you can see this also recurrently with people who introduce new products, new services. This is a route they choose to make sure that, first of all, they deliver what they promise and what is part of the business plan and the business growth plan, but also in a form that really asserts them as an expert at the same time. So this is a type of accountability that someone who is motivated and encouraged by power would choose. If you're more motivated by affiliation, and that's quite interesting, is you're seeking community group acceptance. And what you might consider then is being linked into a group that meets recurrently. You might, for example, choose to learn a new skill or a new hobby, doing it this way, where a group would meet recurrently and you would have to prepare something so that your accountability would be that time when you meet the group. However, what would happen is it would be a group where everyone's supporting each other in terms of achieving that goal, sharing experiences, maybe some of the challenges, and using that community spirit to really drive towards the goal that you want to achieve. So you can see that these are two very different ways of being accountable in a more public setting, depending on what type of need or motivation you have. And this is really important to recognize and also apply recurrently when you look for accountability. What also helps, and this is regardless of how much or how often you use accountability, is what really helps is to embed accountability in your day-to-day habits and routine. So you don't have to get up in the morning and think, oh, what am I going to do today to maybe push myself a bit more. What you have is a plan of action. So for example, I have an accountability partner and we meet every single week. We have a set time. Yes, of course, sometimes we might change that, but the principle is that we are accountable to each other once a week on the progress we're making with our businesses, with the respective businesses. And this is really, really helpful because I make sure during the week I look at my actions and I'm ready by the next week. Nothing is left, but also it's an opportunity to pick someone's brain, to ask them for feedback, for maybe to challenge as well, share as well with someone who is on a similar path in our particular case, and can also help and provide some input on more than maybe just a deadline and whether we made it or not. So that can be quite helpful as well. And finally, the question of how much accountability is enough is going to be different for everyone. So when you think about what your goal is right now that you're aiming to achieve maybe by the end of the year, it's quite common to set the end of the year for a goal, for achieving a goal. Start thinking, what is it that maybe has stopped you, where you have procrastinated, where you found something really difficult and challenging to do that has maybe not even been a showstopper, but actually has really slowed you down. And when you think about what motivates you and the needs that I've spoken about earlier, the answer to how much accountability is enough for you is the enough is what is going to help you move forward from wherever you are towards your goal better or faster. And that's your answer. This is how much accountability is enough, is what you need personally to help you move forwards faster or easier towards the goal that you set for yourself. So do let me know if you have any questions on anything that I have said that I can answer and that would help you specifically to move forward. One of the questions while you're doing this, one of the questions I always get is around people's past experiences with accountability. And unfortunately, they can be a bit mixed. So some people had amazing experiences and they swear by accountability and accountability partners. Some people, unfortunately, have had more mixed or negative experiences with accountability. So what I always say is that past experiences are not a reliable indicator of a future experience. So historic data can sometimes be quite misleading, and making assumptions based on particularly a negative experience in the past can really be a self-limiting belief for the future. And self-limiting beliefs can be really constraining, limit your potential and limit what you can do and also what you're able to do. So thinking about how the past experiences might be limiting you right now, which means also for the future, is really, really important, and considering what that means for you and how to overcome this and just get it out of your way. So I don't know if you have any other questions than this one. This is definitely the one that comes up so many times. And I appreciate it's a real concern that people have based on their experiences. However, really looking forward and understanding what good looks like and accountability is quite key to achieving more and faster for most of us. So I'm going as resources, so I'm going to come to an end if you have no questions. I'm going to pop as resources the human motivation theory from David McClelland into the chat from the stream as well. It's quite interesting to have a look at it. It's a 5 to 9 minute article, depending on how fast you read. And it really gives a bit more background and detail on what I said earlier about the different ways how we motivate ourselves and how we can motivate others as well around us. If you have no questions, then I'm going to say thank you so much for tuning in. And next Tuesday, I will have one of our group members with me. So stay tuned to find out who it is. He's achieved incredible things. He's a really active group member. And he's going to share with us his challenges, his successes, and where he is right now in building his business and what top tips he has for all of us. So thank you again very much. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.